Welcome to yet another episode of CIO Dimensions Innovation Talk Series, where we talk to business technology leaders about the essentials of innovation success. I'm Radhika Nalayam, Managing Editor for CIO Dimension. I'm really excited to welcome my guest today, Ms. Shweta Srivastava, Head of IT Applications at JK Cement. Shweta is responsible for driving change and business transformation for the company's IT applications landscape. She is in charge of the delivery and maintenance of go-to-market applications as part of JK Cement's digital and IT initiatives. And of course, Shweta comes with a great diversity of experience. She's worked across industries like finance, supply chain, logistics, manufacturing, and healthcare. And she's been associated with several leading brands such as Paul Merchants, Safe Express, Fortis Hospital, and also Sahara Hospital. She's worked in the capacity of a CTO, she's worked in the capacity of a CISO, and now as head of IT applications, she's also responsible for the customer experience component at JK Cement. Shweta, welcome to the show and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Radhika. Thank you for having me here.
Great, Shweta. I've been wanting to talk about this topic for a long time, and it's a fascinating area. Oh, so let's just dive into the topic. We know that we live in an app economy where applications become the face of a brand, to such an extent that it can make or break a brand. In that sense, I think you have a challenging yet very stimulating role to fulfill here. And one of the things that really changed the way organizations approach application development is the emergence of low-code, no-code tools, or LCNC as they call it. LCNC tools promise to radically simplify and speed up application development. I think a recent Gartner report that came out a couple of years ago predicted that by 2025, about 70% of new applications developed by enterprises will use LCNC technologies. Considering that this number was only some 25% in 2020, I think it's a huge leap in the way applications are being developed. And you have personally and very passionately worked on LCNC technologies. You spoke to me about that. So tell us, for an IT leader, how do these tools give an edge? And what are some of your learnings from the LCNC initiatives that you have been spearheading?
All right. Thank you so much for the question, Radhika. This is actually very close to my heart because this is something that I have started exploring post my joining in JK. This has always been a question for enterprises, that how do they approach a requirement of an application? So the obvious question that comes in is that since there are similar applications available in the market, why should we not go for an off-the-shelf solution? Whereas when we dive into an off-the-shelf solution, we realize over the period of the time that the application does not fit so well. Every enterprise requirements are peculiar, and when they try and customize an off-the-shelf solution, it becomes a custom version of their own of that application. So build or buy is always a deliberation that happens within the organization whenever there is a requirement. I'll just give an analogy that it's just like when you go and buy clothes from a retail store, they would be there available off the shelf. Immediately you can try and get it, but then the fit may not be completely as per your body type. Whereas when you go for a custom tailoring of the clothing, it means that you will get what you want, but then there is a cost and time attached to it.
Right.
So that's always you have to bargain between what you want and how much you get, and then of course the cost element to it. That's, I think, the place where LCNC takes a lead, and it gives you what you want and in an agile manner with the minimum possible time. So at the core, LCNC can provide a close fit to the business requirement and can be implemented quickly. And cost, of course, is the licensing cost that comes along with it. But then there is no capping on how many applications can you build on that through that platform. Apart from that, you can manage that in-house as well, because the kind of skill set requirements that it pertains to. And as they say, it contains features of visual modeling. So you drag and drop interfaces, pre-constructed templates are available. There is security inbuilt. The scalability comes as part of the DNA of LCNC. So considering all of that, LCNC gives you that edge. And with respect to business, because we all know how market dynamics are changing and what pace they are changing. Considering the timeline that it takes for building a custom application and then going live, doing UAT, sign off, all of that, business will not wait. The requirements will change. So by the time you are ready with a set of modules that they would have asked for, the requirements would have completely changed. And that's where every enterprise has been grappling for past few years. So when we talk about LCNC, it gives you that advantage.
Great. So basically agility and the ability to get what exactly you want, which also impacts the customer experience and user experience and all of that. Right. Having said that, while NCNC tools are integral in accelerating an organization's digital transformation initiative, it's really not the magic bullet, right? I mean, you spoke about a set of advantages, but there are also security issues or integration issues. And I think over and above all of this, the IT leader have the responsibility to drive the cultural change, because now we are talking about extending the possibility of development to a set of new users who are typically non-technical users. How do you think an organization must adjust their operating blueprint and other capabilities to take advantage of LCNC platforms? And what are some of the gaps that you have typically seen in the whole process?
So you rightly said, Radhika, there is no magic wand. I mean, acquiring an LCNC software does not come without any caveats.
Right.
So the important caveat is that when you say that you don't need a deep understanding of coding language, it is perceived as if there are citizen developers who can just drag and drop, create workflows, and the application is ready in no time. Whereas it needs a discipline. So when you approach application development through an LCNC, you need to know what are the best practices. How can you actually leverage what is being offered by LCNC? So there is a terminology called application objects. Now, how efficiently you can create those application objects, how can you use it for multiple applications is where the actual success comes in, and which I'm sure a business user wouldn't know, neither would he care. So when we say that person with basic knowledge of coding and a lot of knowledge of business can create it, he will be biased towards the outcome that is attached with his immediate requirement. Whereas as an IT leader, we need to think about leveraging the platform in the best possible manner. And for that, you need to have an understanding of end-to-end, what all needs to be done, what is mission critical that needs to be done in order to ensure the scalability in future. You don't end up making something so closed looped that you cannot scale it further. Security, when we call it, of course, it comes with inbuilt security, but wherever the integrations are there, when you are interacting with applications outside the environment, the security definitely is very integral and needs to be taken care. Then when I said citizen developers developing their own applications, there is also a way where shadow IT starts acting up.
Right.
So
Yeah.
a lot of smaller departmental IT, so-called IT professionals would feel that now they can manage the show. Whereas it becomes difficult when you are actually operating on an enterprise level. So I feel these are the basic things. And of course, licensing is a bit heavy. I wouldn't say that it comes very economical. But if it is if the application platform is used with a proper way, we can definitely leverage it to the maximum.
Yeah, absolutely. It is still a very fascinating thing to do as an IT leader, right? Because you're expanding your scope to a larger audience within the organization. So I think exciting role. This is one topic that I really can't avoid talking about, which is generative AI. So I want to kind of understand what will be the impact of generative AI on LCNC landscape. Do you think it will potentially drive the emergence of a whole new class of intelligent developer technology, or any other impact that you think generative AI can have on LCNC in the long run?
So certainly, I think generative AI is truly a game changer, and undoubtedly, it is one of the leading technology in today's world. It has increased user experience multifold. So it is so fascinating that AI. We have been talking about AI for a long time, but this is the best use case that has happened in the recent times. And again, talking about LCNC, it is developer friendly and is a lot of a lot of generative AI impact can be seen in LCNC. So when you typically talk about code generation, the code is created on its own. I mean, on its own, as in not literally, but with minimal effort and guidance. Then a lot of testing automation tools are getting developed using generative AI. NLP is one area where generative AI can definitely, make a big change. Data analytics is where generative AI can definitely add value. Apart from that, generative AI can also contribute towards performance optimization of the application. Overall, I think governance and innovation can be managed well using generative AI.
Okay. So you see the whole future evolving to be a more positive experience with generative AI in the picture.
Certainly, certainly, no doubt about it.
Okay, great. Shweta, the other thing you're responsible for at JK Cement is customer experience, which is becoming a key priority for technology leaders across industries today. And of course, customer experience and application are, two inseparable things. The experience on the app really drives the customer experience overall. So, in your experience, how does an IT leader get this piece right? Because technology is just one of the components in CX. There are many other factors, and the whole thing could look very overwhelming for an IT leader who comes from a technology background. So, how do you think we can get this piece right?
So, Radhika, you rightly said, I am also responsible for customer experience. So, most of my applications are go to market applications. So, when I say go to market, I am touching each and every stakeholder that is directly or indirectly contributing to the company's top line and bottom line.
Right.
And it includes my internal users as well as external users. So typically for JK Cement, internal users are my salespeople who are on the field. Unless I give them right kind of tools and platform where they can be more productive and during their interaction with their customers, it doesn't give them a right kind of experience. Likewise, when I'm talking about influencers can be our stockists, distributors and dealers, retailers, painters, masons, everybody. I mean, whole ecosystem is my customer. If they don't get right kind of experience, they will never come back to JK. So that's all the geography, all the stakeholders that I'm connecting with is impacted. If I'm not worrying about customer experience, I give them a basic application which gives them pointers of what it is, it wouldn't probably excite them to come back. And in recent times, we have seen that more than what application offers, it is the engagement that makes it more impactful. How can you keep nudging your customers to come back to the application, and then in turn, ultimately the goal is an action. So what is the call to action that is triggered during this application journey? That is extremely important. And when you say that, yes, digital cannot completely take over the experience part, I completely agree with you. While we have different ways of connecting with the customer digitally, we cannot keep the human element away. So whenever we are interacting with the customer through different channels, it is very important that we are pitching the right kind of product to him through a lot of understanding that can be achieved using digital medium. For instance, when we do customer segmentation, we do personalization, it is all backed by a lot of data that we collect of that particular customer and the customer segments that we are targeting. So digital can always be a tool that can be handy, but ultimately human element cannot be taken away. So when you give options of the customer to approach you, there should not just be the website and applications. There has to be a call center where a human can interact with the customer and take their grievances and queries. Then customer satisfaction score can be, CSAT score can be taken, drawn from different ways. And apart from this, I think the enterprise need to be consistent in collecting the customer experience, collecting the experiences of the customer, the feedbacks during the entire life cycle of their journey with the company. Social listening and monitoring tools are also very important tools through which we can understand a lot of customer requirements. There should be a continuous feedback mechanism where the customer is able to speak his heart out, that hey, I don't want this particular product, what if I get this. So he should be able to communicate that to us. And of course, personal touch is something that can never go, that can never be taken up by any technology. There has to be a personal connect. That's how, and that's where JK takes an extra effort, where the sales team is continuously touching base with their stockists. They do visit their physical locations. They maintain that relationship. We do a lot of painter meets where we can interact with them, understand their experiences with us, understand the requirements which we have not been able to fulfill. And one of the biggest use case that we do for specifically for engagement is our loyalty program. So we have our loyalty program through which we keep the customer engaged. We make sure that they keep engaging with us, they keep interacting with us. And that's how, digital and human are together trying to achieve better customer experience.
It's very interesting because I think you really have a wide range of users to really cater to, right, through your application. So really fascinating. And quite ironically, the other fact that really impacts customer experience is security. And application security has emerged as a big discussion point among every technology leader today. So, and I think API security vulnerabilities are increasing quite a bit, and there are organizations that are experiencing API security incidents on a daily basis. So, how do you think organizations should approach API security from your experience?
So today's application doesn't work without an API. So it may be an API exchange within two applications in an internal environment, whereas a lot of APIs we consume or we expose to an external environment. And that's where the threat comes into picture. So an insecure API is a serious threat. Unless the API security has been completely ensured, there are n number of ways of an external threat, malware, ransomware entering our ecosystem. So it's very important that we ensure that the APIs that we are exchanging within the applications are through the security protocol, defined security protocol, and there should be continuous checks and balances in place to avoid any such threat creeping inside the environment. majorly the API security risks that are observed are broken object level authentication, excessive data exposure, improper asset management, lack of resources and rate limits, and most importantly, injections come through APIs. So we have to take care of all of those, and we have to keep proper authentication and validation. So whenever there is an exchange of information through an API channel, there should be authentication that whether the request has come in from a legitimate source, and specifically with the data that is passed on in the exchange of information between APIs, it should be encrypted, validated. Assessment of risk needs to be done multiple times, and regular VAPTs, protocols that we use, REST or SOAP, that needs to be consciously selected. These are the basic ways of ensuring that exchange of information between the APIs is done in a secure way.
Great. I think that is very well summarized. And there is so much happening on the application ecosystem today. And I'm sure you're going to have a fascinating journey ahead, Shweta. I can't thank you enough for this invaluable insights and the fantastic conversation. Really appreciate it, Shweta.
Thank you so much. It was lovely, literally a pleasure.